Welcome back. Today I'm going to do what I'm calling a pre-review of 100 Endgames You Must Know by Jesus de la Villa, Vital Lessons for Every Chess Player. And the reason I'm calling it a pre-review instead of just a review is because I didn't finish the book. I will finish the book, but I'm not going to now, and the reason is it's too advanced for me. I came to this conclusion after reaching about page 45, and that seems like a long ways to go into the book before realizing that it's too advanced. But the introduction is pages 9 through 26, and then the next section from there to about page 45 or 44 is a section that he added after chess coaches told him he needed more basic positions to start the book as an introduction. And those positions turned out to be extremely challenging for me. I was able to work my way through most of them. The ones in the first chapter called Basic Endings. I believe there's 15 or 20 basic endings that he has there. And only a couple of those were able to just grasp intuitively. The rest I had to work out on the board. And even then, several times, he would say something was very clear about this position. Like, well, if black makes this move with their king, then the pawn's path to promotion is clear and obvious, and would just move on without explaining why it was clear and obvious. And I would work those out on the board and couldn't find it. I would find it was a draw when he said it was clearly a win for white or something. So I would have to plug those into Stockfish to try to figure out how is this position clearly winning. And then on page 45, there's a basic test, which I will show to you. That's what the page looks like, basic test. It shows several positions. That's just the first page of the test, by the way. There are a couple of other pages of the test. And the first one, it says white to move. Is it a draw? Well, number one, it didn't say which end of the board I was looking at it from. I assumed I was looking at it from white's side of the board, the first rank. And I thought, well, no, it's not a draw because the king can move to a certain position, and then no matter what white does, black's pawn can promote. And I thought, you know what? That's probably wrong. So I just flipped to the answer section, which is a couple of pages further down. He has the answers listed here. And it says, yes, this position is a draw because once the black king moves here, then the knight goes there and it's check. And I thought, well, what if the black king didn't go there? It could, because that's what I had calculated. It would go to a different spot because the g2 was obviously going to run into check. So I'd gone to g1, and I couldn't find a way in which white could stop black's pawn from promoting. But his answer, and he's a grandmaster, I'm not, says, oh yeah, the white knight enters the right circuit and doesn't explain what that circuit is or what its purpose is. And I'm like, okay, maybe I just didn't understand that one position. So I went to the next one. White to move. Is it a draw? I said, well, no. If the knight moves here, the white knight, then the black king goes to g3. But if the white knight moves to a different spot, then the black king goes to g1, and either way the pawn promotes. Well, you get to the answer, and it says, that one actually turned out to be right, but he had the king going to a different spot where, again, it would obviously run into a check. So I didn't put... the next one says, oh, no, it's because it's impossible to get to Philidor's position. Well, I don't know what Philidor's position is, and we haven't covered that yet. And so I quit, and I went back to the introduction, which I'm going to go back to page 13 right now. And it says on here that the positions he added in the first chapter, called Basic Endings, are very well known. And just some players have conceptual errors. And, well, none of those positions were well known to me, which is the reason I got this book, hoping that they would become well known and explained to me. But they weren't explained. He was just saying these are some well-known positions. You probably already understand these. And he says the readers who hesitate in these endings can start from the basics, while those readers who consider that they have already mastered these endings can skip this part. Well, the basics aren't here, though, and so I'm going to have to drop this book and go on to the next one. He also mentions the test. He says these positions are very simple, with little material. A first category player should be able to solve all correctly. These positions do not require great calculation. Okay, well, there were, 20 positions in that basic test, and of the first 4, I got 3 of them wrong and didn't understand his answers at all. So I'm going to say that they were not very simple, and I don't know what a first category player is, but I was not able to solve all correctly. He says, if you find some of them difficult, that means you lack some knowledge of endgame theory. Well, yes, I lack all knowledge of endgame theory, which is the reason I got this book. But as it turns out, this book is meant for players who have some knowledge of endgame theory, who already know certain basic things like Philidor's position. And sure, I can, go on a search engine and go to Wikipedia or chess.com and find out what Philidor's position is and work my way through it, just so I can solve that one position on this test. And then when I get to the next position on the test, I'm going to have to do all that again. But the reason I got the book in the first place was because I thought that was going to be the resource to teach me those positions, Philidor's position. There's probably others. I haven't found out what I don't know yet. So anyway, I had a misconception about the book, thought it was going to teach me endgame theory. But as it turns out, you have to already have endgame theory in order to understand the book. So it's far too advanced for me. So I'm going to skip over to my other endgame book that I got, Jeremy Silman's Complete Endgame Strategy, I believe is the name of it. And so hopefully that one will carry me up to the point in which I can understand this one. So thank you for watching, and when I do get through this book, and I will have a full review of it. But for now, this is a pre-review. If you're at about my level, which is relatively low, 1200 rapid, just for a point of reference on chess.com, and you know what passed pawns are, you know how pawns promote, maybe you've learned about king opposition, that's not enough to understand this book. So if you were thinking this book would help you, you're going to need some more study before you can get very far into this one. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.